Hello and welcome to the press conference on Edison Alliance 1 Billion Lives Challenge from Promises to Progress. My name is Naoko Tochibayashi, Public Engagement Lead, World Economic Forum. Edison Alliance was created with the recognition that as a society, we simply cannot move forward without anyone in the world not participating in the digital future. 2.7 million people are still offline. What that means is that 1/3 of the world's population is in need of essential life services, such as healthcare, education, and financial services. In responding to these challenges, the Edison Alliance and its members across the business, government, academia, civil society, and international organization launched a project called 1 Billion Lives Challenge in September of 2021. The Alliance sets an ambitious and, most importantly, a measurable goal, which is to improve 1 billion lives through affordable and accessible digital solution by 2025. Today, I am joined by an esteemed panel who lead and drive the initiative. To my left, Shabana Kamineni, Executive Vice Chairperson of Apollo Hospitals Enterprise, Rima Qureshi, Executive Vice President and Chief Strategy Officers of Verizon, and Robert Smith, Founder, Chairman, and Chief Executive Officer of Vista Equity Partners. Welcome to you all. Now let me start with you, Rima. Where is the Alliance in reaching its 1 billion target?
So if you don't mind, I'm going to share some numbers with you and report out very promising results overall from where we started in September 2021 when we launched the 1 Billion Lives Challenge. Edison Alliance was created 2 years ago, even though September 2021 was when we put the target in place. We have the concept of champions that are deliver the overall 1 billion lives target. We started initially with 22 champions. We are now at 50 champions, as well as 100 active leaders that are helping us work towards reaching that overall goal. Most importantly, I am absolutely delighted to announce that of that 1 billion lives challenge, we are currently at 454 million lives positively impacted as a result of the work that we have been doing. And that's across 90 countries, 250 digital inclusion initiatives. And this is all as a result of the partners that we have and the champions that we have that has allowed us to reach this goal. And we are very much on our way towards the 1 billion target.
Thank you so much. Now, Robert, let me turn to you. Geographically, where in the world is the Alliance actually making impact to people's lives?
Thank you for that question. And again, I want to thank all of the champions in our leadership team and Rima, the team that has been assembled in this time of working remotely. And this has just been remarkable in our results, and just because of the power of our champions and the way we've come together. We have come to a conclusion, again, that broadband and access is a human right and key to economic justice and prosperity. And, we have determined that it's important that we have lighthouse cities and to expand our capacity from Bangladesh to Birmingham, Alabama. Reliable connections to the internet serve as oxygen for economic opportunity. First of all, we are, as Rima has said, we have partnered and activated commitments in 90 countries, and we're not going to stop there. We're going to continue to expand our partnerships in our champions base. The data that came back showed us some very interesting things. One, 2 regions with the most lives improved upon were South Asia, or 79% of that total, and Africa, 10% of the total. And it maps to the 2 regions most in need. The 4 countries with the most lives improved are India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Indonesia. And the combined population of those 5 countries totals well over 2 billion people. And out of the 10 countries with the most partners with activated commitments, 2 are high-income countries and 3 are upper middle income countries. Digital deserts in rural and urban areas and the lack of sufficient connectivity speeds and skills to meaningfully connect are challenges that most countries in the world face irrespective of GDP levels. And that's particularly true in the United States. And we have a few examples, and as we go through this, I'll be happy to walk through one of the important examples that we focused on in our champion space.
Great, thank you, Robert. We might come back to you on those specific examples. Now, Shabana, the alliance is comprised of members from business, government, academia, social, civil society, and international organizations. Why can't one company, one nation do this on their own? Why do we need the partners? Why is it so important?
That's a great question, and I think that probably me being here from the private sector of the most populous country in the world with a 1.4 billion people population, and much of it spread out geographically and also, income challenged. But again, they have a lot of cell phones in India. So coming from India, the diversity of being a woman and in the private sector, and especially in health, I think is really actually focuses on why the Edison Alliance has taken partners and champions who they think will accelerate this, because no one government or no one non-profit or, however big would be able to undertake such a challenge and do it on the most important three fronts, and that is digital inclusion, financial inclusion, do it through health, and do it through education. These are the three that are foundationally important to transitioning humanity into a higher plane. And I think especially, the more challenged people in society, and getting them digital inclusion is really, I think, this is the time for us to do it. It would have taken years and years and years for us to be able to do it if we did not have the digital enablement. But all these countries, including India, there's cell phones everywhere, and I think that's super important, that the fact that Edison Alliance stayed focused, said, let's get these champions, let's get them on board. And the champions include not just private sector, but it includes a lot of governments, a lot of nonprofits. So I think it's this coming together of like-minded with the challenge to say this 1 billion. Now, 1 billion gives you that huge, it's such a large target. When I went for the first meeting, I said, wow, this is going to take time. And then what Rima said that, in 2 years to be able to get to half the target, I think could only be done because of the quality of the partners, the champions, and also the focus on using digital. So partnerships are important, and I'd love to give you some examples now or later on what exactly we've done with health and how powerful this can become for the world.
Thank you so much, Ivana. There was a mention of several examples and specifics. Robert, can we come back to you on that? Can we elaborate on that?
Sure, I'll highlight one, and it really starts to emphasize the importance of public-private partnerships in affecting these changes. In the United States, we have found that our historically black colleges and universities have been challenged in gaining access to broadband connectivity. In fact, 80% of these universities are in what we call broadband deserts. And what we have done is put together a coalition that we call the Southern Communities Initiative, which includes PayPal and Cisco and Boston Consulting Group, and have evaluated how do we connect these communities and ensure that they have the ability to not only sustain connectivity, but enable them to also reach out into the communities beyond the HBCUs. And so what we've done is we first started with Claflin University and South Carolina State University in the Orangeburg Department of Public Utilities. And we've completed, in essence, what's called the Phase 1, which is part of a multi-phase effort to enable not only those universities, but up to 26,000 residents in that service area. The way that it works in the United States is we have now effected an infrastructure bill, which is a federal bill, which will be actually delivered through states. That federal bill is about $65 billion. But in order to apply and gain access to it, you actually have to go and apply to the states where they will actually distribute it. In order to do that, you have to have a master plan, and the historically black colleges and universities actually have not built or completed these master plans. And so our organization has worked together to pull together a master plan for this community, which now they're able to apply for the federal funding, which enables the broadband capacity for not, again, just that set of universities, but the community surrounding it. We now have 70 more of these, but we have a template, 70 more of these HBCUs to complete. We're pulling together and raising $30 million to finish the master plan, so we can now go and deliver to each of the states to get the funding to enable this to happen. So this is, again, an example of public-private partnerships, identifying a need, even in places where you don't think there's a broadband desert. In many cases there are, but with our partnerships, our ability, our champions coming together, we're able to address these needs and really drive forward the connectivity, sustainable connectivity in communities that need it.
Thank you. Shobana?
So, you know, being in healthcare, we have a foundation, and the Telemedicine Foundation. So in the most difficult area in India, I think that, you know, in the mountainous area where they have a tower, but connectivity, but nothing else. No, we did more than 1 million consults, especially during the COVID pandemic. But doing this alone, the Edison Alliance connected us with American Tower Corporation. So ATC said, we have infrastructure, why don't we put up primary clinics? And we did this we did 5 of them, and which will actually take a radius of, you know, 250,000 people. And in doing that, this partnership, we've seen that a fantastic product has emerged. This is a product that we realize, and we've actually been using it, that almost 54,000 people have been impacted so far in these 5 clinics. And with $10 a year, seriously, $10 a year, we do the initial screening, then get them digitized, and then they have any number of teleconsults with the doctor at the call center. They'll get point-of-care treatment for diagnosis, and at the end of that, we even have a digital dispensary that can, you know, give them the medicine, the generic medicine, to be delivered to them. And this is all at $10. And I think that these kind of products that emerge, suddenly the larger governments are seeing this, because, again, India has the largest, you know, public health insurance. More than 500,000 Indians are covered with a scheme of hospitalization, but they have nothing for early detection and primary care. I think this is a product that they're starting to look at, and if we can make this happen, I'm really hoping that the billion target, you know, at least half of it, Rima, in health, we could achieve it, you know, from India as a lighthouse country. But there are countries like Africa, all over the world, there are spots that if you can do this $10 model, I think that it can become a sustainable global model that originated actually from this Edison Alliance. And that's the excitement, that you can get products like this that can you know, completely shift how we deliver care, and that's why it's so exciting for us.
Thank you. Rima, Robert mentioned an important word, sustainability. What is the key to the alliance in making it sustainable, and how and where will the alliance go with the sustainability to achieve 1 billion by 2025?
I think these are not new problems that we are trying to solve. These are problems that we have been aware of, and there have been many attempts to try to resolve it. And one of the fundamental pillars, as Shobana was talking about, is this collaboration and bringing people together, which is extremely important because no one party has the complete solution. We all contribute, we all have some aspect of the solution and the will to try to resolve it. And the objective of the Edison Alliance is to bring all of those partners together to try to address the problem. So that's an important aspect of that sustainability, is to ensure that you have everybody at the table to help you solve that problem. I think in the past, we also have looked at it as one aspect only, which is connectivity. And if you've got connectivity, therefore, you should be able to solve the problem. But it is more than connectivity. It is about, first of all, having the accessibility, which is important, so that's the connectivity aspect. And in that, there is the coverage geographically, but it's also the reach across geographies. So do you have it in the metro areas? Do you have it in the rural areas? That becomes important. Then it is about the affordability, which is a major, major barrier to the ability to get that digital inclusion. Can you actually afford the devices that you need to be able to get the service? So that's another challenge that we are trying to address, and that is going to make the solutions that we have sustainable. And then, of course, there is the usability. Do you actually have that local content that you need to be able to provide the services that allow you to have access to healthcare, education, finance in the language that you need? Do you have the digital literacy in the local population to be able to access all of this? That's important. And then you want to make sure that there are incentives so that the public-private partnership is able to scale. The example in India, we are able to scale it to a certain point, but unless we get everybody involved and there are proper incentives through the whole value chain, we are not going to be able to scale it. And that's also very important, to then not have this as a pilot project on the side, but something that can truly scale.
Interesting. Robert, before we got on the stage, we talked about the excitement of meeting people face to face again. And the Alliance was launched in 2021 in the midst of COVID. Now, are you starting to feel more excitement coming towards this alliance?
I would say so. We have a unique set of partners. We gathered last spring in Davos as well, and it was wonderful, the attendance. And what we've done is not only decided that we're going to make this happen, but be very thoughtful and judicious in the way that we are accounting for the changes in the impact, and published results in this, which was published yesterday, our impact report, and deliver in a manner of best practices. So no matter where you are in the world, or as one of our lighthouse countries, as we develop these best practices, you will have access to information, and others can have access to information in terms of how they did it, what was the structure, how did they access financing, how did they actually bring expertise to the table. And I think beyond the billion lives that we will, of course, I'll call it run through the tape in accomplishing our objectives, we will have sustainable infrastructure that resides here, digital, and of course the human resources, the human capital of our champions to help other communities enable their citizenry to participate in this fourth industrial revolution. That comes from us having shared values, come from us getting together and not being echo chambers alone. And I think us coming together in this forum in Davos at this period, at this point in time, in addition to last spring, is an important part of us accomplishing this with the authenticity of realizing our objectives.
Now I'd like to open the floor for any questions for those of you who are physically in the room. In fact, I do have a question, and I think Rima would be a perfect person to answer for me. Now, in the past 20 minutes, I think we've covered quite a bit of grounds. I'm sure we've inspired many, not only in this room, but people watching live stream. What if he or she is inspired, now wanting to engage with the Alliance? How do they go about? How do they get to engage with the Alliance? Where do they start?
Great question. First of all, hopefully we provided some input and some information about what we are doing and our objectives. There is an awful lot more information that is available on the Edison Alliance website, World Economic Forum. You can get a lot of information. You can get the report that Robert mentioned that will give you a breakdown of the impact that we've had. Look for impact stories as well, where we will be able to give you concrete examples of specific geographies where we have done work. One of the ways that we have tried to implement, as Shabana mentioned, is the concept of lighthouse countries, where we've actually brought together public, private, government together to resolve the issues in a particular geography. Those serve as great examples of how solutions can be implemented in a particular focus area, such as health, finance, or education, or in a particular geography. Those are great ways to educate. Let us know if you are interested in becoming champions or partners and what you have to contribute, and we would love to have you help us reach our target and go beyond.
Excellent. And thank you, Robert, for mentioning about the report. Can anybody give a bit of a summary or key takeaway from the report that's now available online, social media?
Sure, and I think, again, it is quite comprehensive, but what you'll see is, what the enablers have accomplished, our focus areas, the problem solved, and there's a lot, but it is, in our minds, important that people see we've identified areas, we have identified problems of connectivity, affordability, and here are the solution sets that we're bringing to bear, and then what are the outcomes? And I think, again, that 450,000 or 454 million people is a great indication of our ability to do it together and to do it together with a team of champions who are committed to make this happen. So the report is quite comprehensive, and again, go to it and on our website. And if you have any questions, of course, reach out to the Wealth Alliance, and we'll be sure to ensure we bring some resources to bear to answer those questions.
I can give some more numbers if you're interested. So access, so of the 454 million, 270 million have received access, so accessibility. On the affordability front, we have impacted 128 million people, and on the usability side, 52 million. If we want to look at it from the perspective of the focus areas, financial inclusion, digital healthcare, and online education, we have 280 million people that have been given access to digital financial services, 90 million access to digital healthcare services, and 18 million on online quality education. And I think one of the things that we point out in the report, when we look at these statistics and how much effort and investment has been made versus the results, we realize that there is more focus that we need on affordability and more focus that we need on education. So it's very important for us also to have all of these details, so know where we need to target to be able to achieve the overall results.
I want to add one point to this. So I think that, attaining and getting to the billion lives is definitely a possibility, but the most important part is to keep them engaged into it. Because, and I think that's what the Edison Alliance is looking at. For example, 90 million people now have access to digital health, but we've actually in the last year done 1.2 million transactions on that. And I think that's really important of how we can continue to keep engaging them, because it's a continuous process, and that's what sustainability is. Even when it comes to education, you don't reach a point, but it's lifelong. How do you keep going, and including financial access? So I think while we're looking at creating that and reaching the number, there's also depth in making sure that these transactions will keep happening and the engagement continues.
The engagement definitely sounds like a very important word here. Robert, what is, we still have a few more minutes to go. What is one thing that our audience can take away from the discussion we had today? What can they do as a next step? Even if they may not physically be engaged with the Alliance directly, what can they do?
I think each community has their own needs, and I think it's important to think about, as an old saying, the finger that gets cut off, you should address the pain that finger is feeling, right? So every community that we're addressing has a different set of needs, and we need to ensure that there is a sustained engagement with the policymakers as well as the companies that actually have the ability to help address those needs. Many of the elements of access really come down to some broader policy of the public part of the equation, and it can be the private part that can create the innovative solutions that can bring to bear the solutions that aid that wound. So I think that's part of the takeaway is it truly is public-private partnerships. You have to engage both in order to be effective long-term, and I think we have, again, in our website and the cases, the ability to show how we've done it in different communities and how we're going to continue to express this, what I think this great mission is going forward until we achieve our objective and achieve our goal.
Rima, I'd like to ask you the same question, but also I'd like to ask what the reaction has been when you talk about the Alliance. So aside, one question, what can people take away? And what are the reactions that you are getting from the people that you talk to about the Alliance?
So the first part of your question, what can people take away? We have very difficult challenges in a lot of areas in front of us. In some ways, they can feel insurmountable, but what we are trying to demonstrate that it is possible, but you need to break it down into manageable ways of solving the problem and to follow it up very, very closely. This doesn't happen by chance. This requires a lot of work and a lot of energy to accomplish this. And sorry, what was the second part of your question?
What has been the reaction so far?
The reaction to the report and everything that we have been discussing is, first of all, a lot of interest in wanting to join and coming up to us and asking how they can collaborate, how can they participate, how can they help, which has been wonderful.
And Shabana, to you, I would like to add another question to that. So one, what can people take away from this session? And two, what can people learn? What is one thing that people can learn from things happening on the ground, because you're obviously on the ground? What is the things that we don't know about just by being in the press conference room, just by being in the places that we're not sure what the needs and wants are?
Sure. I think Robert said that, it's all about different communities have different needs. So what I would say is that on a broad base of what we're seeing is, I think that when you create this digital, availability in communities, we're seeing that a lot more women are feeling more confident to get health care. And those were the people who were left out. So I think what this is going to do is to be able to take the people who were most left out. And I think that's what the Edison Alliance, the big impact will be from, that the most marginalized are now have an opportunity to really access. And to me, that's just a reason for being. And the good thing is that what has Edison Alliance done to enable more partners, because, you just need a huge bunch. What Rima and her team have done is actually created a platform that, so it's extremely, it allows many people to get onto it. And, you might not have the same resources, but when you have this actionable platform that I think, Rima, you can describe it better. But I think this is the help, how you put ATC with us and how different partners will start connecting with each other. That's also the strength of the Edison Alliance, that it's going to allow many partners to come and engage in this geography, or I want to do this for this community. And so this kind of flexibility allows us to go further. So, these are my two big takeaways from what the Edison Alliance really can do and is doing.
So the Alliance definitely does not leave anyone behind.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I believe we're coming to the end of the press conference now. As we all mentioned, please do check out the report, which is now online. It's going to go on social media as well. Thank you for those of you who are in the room, and not only those in the room, but those watching us on live stream, wherever you might be at office, work, or on your way to work. Thank you so very much for joining us, and have a great day from Davos. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.